Hello and welcome back to the podcast. This is season 2, episode 2 of the Fit in the 30s podcast, and I'm joined once again by Adam Kent. How are you doing, buddy? You alright?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good?
Thanks for having me back. Yeah, all right, mate, all right.
Yeah, good to have you back. You seem to have moved from your last location where you were before.
Yes, I have been relegated to the living room. So my lovely missus, she's a doctor down at St Thomas's at the moment, and she has finished the night shift, so she's occupying the bedroom at the moment, which is normally where I record. So if you hear any loud noises or screaming kids, it's not coming from the basement, it's coming from outside.
Coming from outside, well, that's good to know. That's reassuring, always reassuring. I'm of course in Del Big's production studios.
The 6x8.
The 6x8, the corner of my bedroom, which is also my production studio. But welcome back to the podcast, guys. So today's episode, we're just going to literally talk about Adam and I's fitness background. So we'll talk a little bit about our work because we just happen to work in fitness, but we're going to talk about like our sporting backgrounds and then the training we do alongside that and kind of our plan, going forward in sport. Going forward with our training and what we're going to do for 2021. So who should go first?
I think yourself, you have quite a diverse and interesting background.
I do have an interesting background. I've been in a few places. Yeah, okay, I'll start. So like I said, we're just going to look at like where I've come from fitness. So I joined the army at 16 years old. So I was in secondary school, I was very much in army cadets. And that was like my fitness sport I played, was growing up. And then I joined the army at 16. And then the army was literally my whole life. Going forward, that was my everything. So I joined the army at 16. I joined the Royal Engineers, went through basic training, done all my phase 1 and phase 2 engineer training, and then I applied to join the paras. So when you join the Royal Engineers, you can stay as a combat engineer, or you can specialise and go into the paras as an airborne engineer. You can go into the commandos and support the Royal Marines as an engineer, or you can specialise and become an engineer diver. They're like 3 little routes you can spin off if you want to. And I always wanted to join the paras, so I went and done pre-parachute selection. It's an arduous physical course that lasts about 3 months. It only has about a 30% pass rate. I passed first time.
Nice.
Then I got my Marine Berry. I done my parachute training, so I got my wings, and then I was in the paras from that would have been 2006 till 2012 when I left. What are those sirens going off in the corners? This ain't very professional. They're coming. So then I was in the paras for 6 years, and then all my training was based around the demands that I needed to meet being in the paras. I went on 2 operational tours to Afghanistan in 2008, then again in 2010. So all my training was based around the requirements I needed to be able to perform overseas. When I left the army, I did play some sports in the army, but at the time I was in the army, I did. I did quite a lot of cross country. Jumped into like triathlons and stuff. Just like a few sprint triathlons. Touched a bit of rugby, but didn't play that much just because of the risk of injury and.
So quick question with that then, because you did a tour of Afghan, didn't you? Was it 2 tours, wasn't it? 2 tours.
2 tours, yeah.
So while you're out that way, like obviously, what's your kind of like strength and conditioning or fitness like when you're sort of in the middle of the desert?
You do what you can. So it's funny. So you build these little camps, literally in the middle of nowhere, and then that's where you're going to stay. And depends how long you're going to be at that camp. There might be 20 people, so there might be 50 people or 100 people, and then you might move then to another camp. We'll be in this little camp that we'll build, and then once that camp's going to be there for a while, they might just chop off an ISO container, and in that ISO container is like all stores and bits and bobs, and sometimes they'll just chuck in some gym kit, and you get some gym kit donated, and then once you get, we as engineers, so we could make stuff. So every camp we went to, we made a pull-up bar, we made a dips bar, literally everywhere we went. And then now and then we would get some kit. I remember one place we had some dumbbells, which were great. And then another place we got a barbell. But so we was like, okay, let's make a bench, let's make a squat rack. And all we had like just a barbell and 4 25-kilo plates.
Nice.
So
your bench game better be strong.
So the only weights we could make up was a 20-kilo barbell, 70 kilo, or 120. That was our only 3 weights for options.
That's the way it should be.
Literally like, yeah, there was no progressive. There was no. The only progressive overload you could do is, right, let's go from 8 reps to 10 reps to 12 reps, and then when you're feeling brave, then you jump from 70 kilos to 120 and start from 1 and work your way back up. So it's like, it was no messing around. And then in Bastion and Camp Bastion, there was like a fully fitted gym, but that was in the middle of the desert. That was the main headquarters. They had like a lovely gym there, but I was never there. I was always in the little towns and stuff. So, you know, the job's very demanding. It's a 7-day-a-week job when you're on tour. You're going out and you're carrying so much weight. You've got at least 40, 50 kilo on you, and you're just kind of patrolling for hours. And then, but you would do a bit of fitness yourself just to keep yourself sane. Like, obviously, there's nowhere to run because your camp's not big enough. Your camp's like 50 meters or 50 meters max. You know, so there's nowhere to run. You don't have things like rowers or bikes. So it's kind of like you just do whatever weights you can. There was some people did like pad work and boxing just to kind of like have that mental break for work. But the job itself is just very demanding while you're out there. And then in the build up to Afghan, it was just getting used to carrying load. Just getting fit, just get yourself like ready to be able to support the demand of the tour. I look at the stuff I was able to do back then. If I was to put all that weight on now, and I'm not built like that anymore. Yeah. Now, like for me to get on my bike and do an hour cycle, I'm stretching for about 20 minutes before I even get onto it. Before I'll just put on this 20-kilo body armor, this bag full of like ammunition and stores, and then my weapon, and then I'll just go for hours and it'll be absolutely fine. Now I'd have to really think about that. And I don't think I'll be out the door within minutes. But yeah,
I hear you complaining when you got to take your kettlebell down to the park to train people.
Literally, yeah.
Take this 8-kilogram kettlebell.
Mate, when I've got the guys over on the common, I need to drag the 15 kilos out. So I've got 2 15-kilo dumbbells or 2 22s. Yeah. And like, yeah, it's fine, but it's like 150 meters. So I'm like, okay, let's do this in 5 sets of 30. Let's do this in 5 sets of 30 meters, and I'll just walk 30 meters, put the weights on the floor, and then just cross my arms and stand there. 30 seconds rest, then go again.
But challenge yourself to do like a front rack carry down that way.
Mate, in my defence, I've got a bag full of kettlebells as well. So it is.
You can counterbalance that. That'll be all right.
It is. I haven't got a core to do that, mate. You know that. I'll start walking around like that, one arm overhead, maybe. Yeah. So then, like I said, I did some sports in the army, but the time I was in the army was very much training for tour. Yeah. So then I left the army. I went to St Mary's in Twickenham with Matty, and I went to join the rugby team because I was really getting into rugby. We started playing just before I left, like with the local club in Woodbridge. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to join the rugby team. On the way to join the rugby team, there's this absolutely massive bloke called Pete, and he was just standing next to all the rowers, and he was part of the rowing club, and he was like, come on lads, jump on and do a K. Once we fill the rowers, we'll start a K. You. Everyone jumped on, and I started like toying with the idea of rowing before I even went there. So I did a K. What did I do? I did a 3:09, which is quite a decent pace on 1K. So and he went, right, you, and you. I want you to join the rowing club and work together. We'll put you in a 4-man boat, and I'll train you, and we'll get to a decent level. And I was like, all right, yeah, sure. So then I was on the river every day, 6 days a week. And that was 2012, and because that's when I met you back into 2012, and I've been rowing like 3 months by the time I met you.
That was always interesting.
And that was my thing, rowing. And I was on the river. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I was just going to say, because when I met you, I used to be, rocking up to work at like, sort of 6:30 in the morning for clients and things like that, and then you would be, sort of coming in just after me, but you'd already been up for like 2 or 3 hours, like on the bloody water or something like that, and I'd just be like, Jesus, and then so you already smashed that out, and then later on in sort of later morning or afternoon, you're back on the rower, smashing out another workout. I was actually always generally quite impressed by that.
Mate, it's one of those. Thank you. It's one of those sports, mate.
That's the most you're ever going to get out of me.
Yeah, I bet. It's one of those sports you need to do time underwater because you need to learn how to sit the boat and move together, and then you need to do the fitness side. So after a while, once you get good at rowing, the water starts to feel like an ergo, starts to feel like a rowing machine, and once it starts feeling like that, then you're there. Then you're having brutal sessions on the water, but it takes a lot of time to get used to that. So it was like if was it 5 days a week I was on the water, and you have to go early. Like with most sports, if you want to do it at a decent level, you have to train twice a day, and you have to start early doors. And with anything on the water, that's when it's most calmest, so you haven't got little waves. Because as you get little waves, that catches you all the time. So yeah, you get up, you jump in the river, you do 16k, and then it's like, okay, 7 o'clock, let's go to work. And then in the evening, that's when you do your strength work, your strength conditioning, and then you do timed work on the rower.
Okay.
So that's when you would have seen me, headphones in, just sitting
on the same rower every day. That was rower, because it was the only one that was cleaned.
Yeah, I cleaned and looked after that rower.
Yeah, the only one that worked.
Putting in the time. And then rowing's pretty savage because you train pretty hard for a very short season. It's not like rugby where the season's September to May, and then you have a pretty off season then on season. Rowing's literally like 3 months of races, Right. So, and the races are great.
Is there a reason for that? Is it just like the time of year, like the temperature and things like that? Climate.
Probably, yeah. Temperature. Yeah, because you need a lot of things to go right to row, really. When it's just raining, it's not a good time to be on a boat. And and it all builds up to Henley Regatta, and that's the big one.
Right.
And we weren't strong enough to make it that year, so we were just doing all the races in between before that. But it was great. I love rowing. I won Richmond Regatta. I've got the pictures.
And is that the big picture that's up in your cell in the 6x8?
It's a brilliant picture, mate. Absolute action shot with the crowd.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's good. It's almost as good as your other picture with Matty, where you're holding the Olympic torch.
Yeah, that's somewhere in here as well. So then I rowed for about a year and a half, and then the Lions Tour was on, the 2013 Lions Tour, and one of my clients, Dan Marshall, just happened to be a chairman of the local rugby club, Battersea Ironsides.
Oh, Battersea Ironsides.
And he was like, "Where are you watching rugby this weekend?" And I was like, "Oh, just in the pub." And he's like, "Come down to the club." Went down to the club. It was obviously a great atmosphere. The Lions Tour was great. And then I was like, "Oh, maybe I should go back to rugby," because rowing is not sociable at all.
No.
There's only you can only be so social at 7 a.m. So then once I started getting into the pack of rugby again, I decided to get back into rugby. He said, "Come down, see if you like tackling." So I was like, "See if you like to get tackled again and you like the impact." And of course I did. And then I was like, "Right, I'm in." And then I played rugby for, which you think is about 5 minutes and 1 or 2 games. I actually played rugby for 6 seasons.
You played that one game in that one season, got all the photos, and then dipped. Yeah. And then you've been saying that you're going to come back ever since.
Well, mate, I played 6 seasons, and the issue you have is that you don't get any proof of anything you do.
No.
I place photographers around everything I do, and then I get these pro action shots of me playing rugby. I'm in the scrum. I'm running with the ball.
You're in the scrum, yeah, all right. Like, mate, you're hanging on to the scrum. Second of all, when the problem with my position being prop is that whenever there's photos of play, is either I've got say it's a line out, so you're taking a picture of the back of my head, great. You're taking a picture of the scrum, my head's buried in someone, or I've carried the ball in and I'm at the bottom of a ruck, or probably more likely that the play's on the other side of the pitch and I'm gassed and I'm all the way in the back, hands on hip. Woo! Yeah, you guys go. You go. Yeah, I'll get there.
Well, where I get the action shots all the time, and then I live off those photos. So then when I was playing rugby, then all my training and gym training was based around rugby. So if I can make the club training on a Thursday night, I would go, and then and I went. Thursday was kind of the night I could really commit to, and then Saturday was I didn't have the game, so then my week was heavy Monday, Tuesday strength and conditioning work, Wednesday a bit of skill work, Thursday just conditioning. Well, Thursday rugby training, Friday light conditioning, and then game Saturday. Yeah, and then then a few niggles started to hit, and I wanted to focus on work. So then I jumped into CrossFit because I wanted to learn more skills.
And you were quite a good box, weren't you? You was it Shakesmith's, and then you did some.
I kept going to Shakesmith's. Great gym, great community, and then I did some stuff at WIT, whatever it takes in St Paul's. Yeah, so I always go and do the CrossFit Open because I like to compete. I go and do turf games because I like to compete, and I'm with a team of personal trainers within that. So yeah, I do all those competitions every year just because it's just fun to compete, and that's been filling the gap. And then we talked about my return last summer.
Oh yeah,
when I started up
the infamous return.
It'll be a big day, mate. You know what? I'll play the memorial games and have a run around.
Yeah, that's the only game you ever play. It's just because there's a bunch of other army lads, and you can reminisce, and touch
times.
each other.
So I then 2020 I thought about going back to rugby in August, but of course rugby didn't restarted. So I played touch.
How convenient.
I was doing the shuttles. I was doing all the interval training.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because rugby never started, I actually just got into cycling because I wanted to fill the gap, and we were going to do a few of us were going to do London to Brighton. That never actually went ahead, but we might.
Oh yeah, so I remember this. I think even I was attached to that at one point.
Yeah, you were going to buy my bike.
Oh yeah, of course I was. Yeah. I was going. I think you were on hard times at that point, and you were like, "Please buy my bike." And I was like,
"Well, I just
bring the price down."
Mate, I upgraded to a specialised tarmac, mate, which is a beaut, and I've been looking at it.
Yeah, your setup looks really good at the moment.
So and then instead of rugby, because it wasn't happening, I was just going to cycling, and now all things spandex seems to be what I'm about.
You post quite regularly as well with your. You've got a cycle club now, haven't you? Like a virtual cycle club.
Yeah, I started my own little virtual thing on a Friday night lights, and that's been going good. We've got 1 week left. Well, one session left, which is this Friday.
Cool.
But the Army is doing an indoor cycling event.
Okay.
For 8 weeks every Wednesday, and I literally just finished week 7 today. And today was my best overall performance. But you get put into categories, and it's for regulars, reserves, and veterans. So here's me going for top veteran.
Nice.
And I'm in category C. My mate Sam's in category A because he's an.
I take it the category of veteran is just for the fact that you've been in and out rather than your age.
No, the categories in cycling are based on your fitness level.
Oh, okay, right, yep.
Yeah, but this is open to regulars, reserves, and veterans. So there'll be loads of veterans in Cat A as well.
Right, okay,
Cat
cool.
A, so it's just broken this fitness level. So your cycling's measured in watts per kilo. So
right, okay.
How many watts you can produce divided by your body weight. So I'm in a category that's 2.5 to 3.1 watts per kilo.
How much are you weighing in at the moment?
90 kilos. And then my FTP at the moment is 280. So 280 divided by 90 is 3 watts per kilo, just a bit over. So then I can enter that race, and if I race well, I have the ability to win that race.
Okay.
If I go up a category, I'll be at the back of the pack. I have no way of winning.
Yeah.
Because the next category is 3.2 to 4 watts per kilo. So I can't get anywhere near those numbers.
So is it better for you to keep weight on than drop weight? If
I could just lose 20 kilos, mate, I'd fly up the categories. But
no, but that's what I'm saying. It's more an incentive to actually maintain your weight at the moment than to.
No, it'll be an incentive to lose weight.
Oh, okay, right.
Let's say I'm producing to 280 watts. I'm 90 kilos, so for easy maths, 270 watts divided by 90 is 3 watts per kilo. If I was to do 270 divided by 80, then I'll start producing 3.3 watts per kilo, so I'll be faster.
Yeah.
So it pays to be lighter.
Right, okay.
I don't want to give up doing bench press and bicep curls.
doing that 80 kilogram bench press and that 120 kilogram deadlift.
Yeah, mate. I love that. So cycling's taken over my life at the moment, which I'm really enjoying. And this year, to finish up my training, I've got quite a few cycling events coming up, some long distance events, and that's just filling my gap. And then we'll discuss rugby after playing touch for a few months.
We have got that to look forward to this summer, when obviously outdoor sports comes back into play.
Yeah, we play touch rugby and have some beers on the common. That's always good fun.
Yeah, some gassy touch.
Yeah, so that's kind of like my sporting background. So sport's always been a big part of my life, and then the gym's just kind of my training in the gym has always kind of reflected what sports I'm doing.
Nice.
So yeah, a big part of obviously 8 years in the army was my training was based around a job role. Yes, I'm a PT now, but I'm a PT that likes to compete in sport instead of just going to the gym, and obviously you're the same. So I
think it's quite important. I do, because I feel that fitness is one of those really funny things that obviously so many people come to it in so many different reasons. But one of the things is that I think me and you both like about fitness is that we get to test ourselves. Mm-hmm. So as much as obviously you can test yourself in the gym, like quite methodically, like have I improved my strength, but being able to actually test the capabilities out in a sport is fantastic. So being able to, for me to go into the gym and work on things like power and explosion and strength, and then being able to literally go, right, how does this work on Saturday when I'm pushing over little kids that are half my size? It's awesome.
So that's my kind of sporting background, and that's led me up to where I am at now. Let's flip it and talk to you. So I met you in 2012.
Yeah.
And then, I've only known
a glorious year. That was like when Arnie and Dylan meet in Predator.
It was exactly together. Like that. So I met you in 2012, and I've only known you to do bodybuilding and rugby, but we'll get onto that in a second, because before that you was into boxing and talk about what you used to do.
I was quite diverse sporting background. Like every kid growing up, you played sports like a bit of cricket, a bit of football, but it's all like playground stuff. But what I really got into when I was in high school was cross country, which is probably to most people, give that reaction on look when I say, I used to run county. And I was very good. I was good enough to be able to break away from the pack and nip into the woods and have a fag, and then run back out. I mean, that's again showing how long ago that was. That was fairly acceptable to hide a fag in your sock. And then through that, I was just very naturally good at it. I attribute a lot of my cardio fitness to the fact that I was always late to school. So there's a big old long road from where I live down to my school in Wimbledon. So I lived in Morden at the time, and this road is generally about like just over 5k from there and back. And because obviously when you're young and you start going to school by yourself, you start pushing it a little bit more about how late you can actually set off and be okay making it to school. So it got to that point where I was like, we're sprinting 5k most days.
My fitness come from sprinting to school.
And I was very naturally skinny as well. I attribute that just to the fact that I was very much living on cans of Coke, and my nutrition was, when you're a kid you don't really into anything like that, so I didn't really eat if I didn't need to. And picked up a bit of boxing. That was always one of those things which I quite enjoyed, just because I was gassy. You know what I mean? I had the cardio for it.
One of the first things that happened when you come into fitness first was you was like, I need to do something to my nose because I cannot breathe. I remember you had to have all your nose kind of sorted out, didn't you?
Yeah, because I have deviated septum, so basically my nose has been broken so many times through boxing that my nose was basically like that, not just on the outside but all the way through into the inside. So I remember
you come in and you looked like you just had a Botox, was like, and like everything moved as one, and you had to move your head as one. It was like trying to hold a conversation.
It's like the original Batman. Yeah, it's just like literally.
Yeah, you literally couldn't move anything in your face.
I know, it was awful. I was very glad I got that done because then, and I still am. You can probably hear it in my voice that I'm still quite nasally because I just always had problems breathing through my nose because of that. And then
cross country onto boxing, and then
then I went. So I carried that on till uni, and when I got into uni, I picked like the wrong course. I did film and creative writing, which obviously I didn't use. More the fact that because after a year of doing that, I was just like, I hate this course. I hate what I picked, so I dropped out. At the time, I was working with TGI Fridays, just a part time to pay the bills. So I can definitely sing you a good old Happy Birthday song, do some balloon animals. But I got really into the bottle juggling side of things when I was doing all the bartending, to a point where I actually was really handy with it, where I was competing. So I was, that's the actual term for it, flaring. So I was competing all around Europe. So I was doing the shows. I was, it paid the bills, mate. People pay a fair amount just for you to turn up for an hour and just chuck around a bit of glass. So I was working around the world at this point doing stuff like that, but. It's the work's far and few between. It's like you get one really good show, and then it might be weeks before you get another one. So you always had to hold down a fairly steady job, as in like a bar gig. So I just at to the point though, towards the end of it, I just got very tired of the late nights and not looking after myself, because every night's a party, you're drinking. All your mates work in pubs and bars as well, so on your days off, you're going to pubs and bars to see your mates. And I feel I got quite cynical towards the end of it because I started getting back into the gym just to kind of to keep my level of fitness up. So I was hitting the weights. I was doing like basically the men's health workout. So I didn't really know anything about fitness at this point. I was just buying the mag off. It was men's fitness, and what was the other one? It's like men's health.
Well, there used to be men's health and men's fitness, which were, they're a lot better now, but I remember them being quite basic.
Yeah.
And the other side was Flex.
Oh, Flex magazine, mate. Did you ever see, mate? There's the hardcore magazine, which was called Beef magazine. That was one when I got onto that, I was like, right, this is just next level stuff. Yeah, Beef.
I remember Flex. I remember Flex being like this absolute unit of a bloke, and then you read the workout, and it'll be like 5 times 10 on bench press, 5 times 10 on incline bench press, 5 times 10 on decline bench press, 5 times 10 on incline dumbbell, and you just be like 10 exercise, 5 times 10. I was like, how long are you going to be in the gym for, mate?
Yeah, it was very much the volume side of working out that.
So you had like men's health, men's fitness was a quite friendly approaches to fitness. You had Flex, which was going big, and then you had muscle and fitness in the middle.
Oh yes, yes.
Muscle and fitness was the money, mate. I had that on subscription years ago, and when I lived with Matty, we had it on description, just getting delivered to the flat, and it was just like, oh, every month a new workout.
Mate. It was one of the things that really helped out actually when I was getting into fitness, and I feel that. A lot of people like slate it because it's very kind of, it's overly simplified a lot of times, but when you kind of forget that sometimes of your level of knowledge compared to the average Joe is so advanced that of course it's easy for you, and that's like bias, isn't it? It's like, oh, well, it's easy for me, this should be easy almost for everyone, but obviously that from working at how little some people are educated in fitness. So I feel it's quite good for people to dip the toe, especially like young guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's just where I started on fitness, and that's how I learned. That's where I started to learn. I mean, I guess now people can buy a program like Fit in 30s online and get an app with it all delivered.
And nice plug. So with that, I decided to can it all. I'd always had aspirations of joining the military myself. I was in cadets and did all that jazz, and I went through the program. So you start out with your application, the background, and you go and do your exams, and then
So this was for
Royal
Marines.
Was for the
Marines, right?
Yeah. And with this, after I did my exams, they're like, right, you got to go do your medical, and then you got to book in for your fitness test. Now, after the exam had finished, they kind of pile you into a room, and one by one they'll tell you to leave because you failed, and they bring the rest of you left into one other room, and like all you lot passed, and it's like, oh, yeah, great. And they said, right, okay, book yourself in. And as I was leaving, the guy pulled me aside, and it's just like, mate, if I were you, I'd lose some weight. And I was just like, oh, right, so, kind of, you don't know what to say to someone like that. And he was just like, mate, it's a lot of running involved in your fitness test. Because I was just gymming, you know what I mean? So I was, so at that point, I was going to Fitness for Less, doing like men's health, kind of more bodybuilding kind of workouts. And you're going to your local GNC in Holland, Barrett's and all that jazz, and you don't really know about supplements or anything, so you're just like, well, what can I afford? And you go to the guy, it's like, what's the best one here that I can find? And he'll point you to the most expensive stuff, and it'll be like, the PhD stuff. Yeah,
you buy a tub of this protein,
the bucket,
you get home, and you get a bucket, and you get home, it just tastes
the cement
terrible.
bucket. Oh mate, yeah.
It would be like I've got 2 months of this.
yeah, that's just it. That stuff would seem to last a lifetime. But I always remember like the I can't remember what it is. It's like the USN stuff, or maybe it was the other stuff. But I just remember it used to look like sand. You'd open it up, and it's because it's the weight gainer stuff, and it's just like, all right, I guess this is it. And then so I got big. And it was like one of the first times I actually started putting on weight, and I really got into that. I think that's what really got the buzz for fitness in that sense.
Matt and I went, because we went, some people don't know Maddie, he was on a podcast a few weeks ago. We was in phase 1 and phase 2 training together, and next to, literally about 10 minutes up the road from our phase 1 phase 2 training, was a gym called Beefs.
Nice.
And it was made by 2 bodybuilders, a married couple, and it's called Beef's Gym. And then he opened up Beefs and Babes. But that place just had all the protein kind of stores like within the gym. There was one squat rack in the corner, and then there was a hack squat, and then the rest of it was bench press. Like it was all upper body stuff everywhere. It was glorious. Anyway, they had this new protein get released called Monster Food, and it was just this guy on the front like that, and it was like 1,200 calories a shake. Mate, and I was tanking that when I was in the army.
I think a lot of those companies folded now because they all got sued, didn't they? Because they were all like spiking their shakes with amino acids. Anyway, so with this, I started getting back into running and fitness, got myself through the program. Unfortunately, lost hearing in my right ear, so that discharged me from training. And with that, I was like probably the fittest I've ever been in my life. And so I was kind of at a bit of a loss, because I think when you're at that point where you're going into a program like that, you're thinking, right, I've got 5, maybe 10 years, and then maybe I'll come out and do something else with it. But I was just like, well, I'm kind of back to square one. I've left the bar behind. I don't want to do that. I'm in really good shape, and I was sitting with a friend in his bar, and we're just chatting, and he says, well, why don't you get into personal training? It's like, you look at you, mate, you're in great shape, you're really likable guy, you're very chatty, you of the the hospitality background. He said that would really fly quite well. So I went and did my course. Luckily for me, when you I don't know if they do this anymore, I doubt they do, but back when this all kicked off, they had a program for, if you were medically discharged, you could go through work and pension, basically get qualified in something else. So you could become like an electrician or a plumber or some jazz like that. And I was like, I don't really want to do any of that. And then I was just like, can I become a personal trainer? So they were like, yeah, well, if you can find a course for it, tell us how much it costs, and we'll put you on it. And so that was, I was like, great. And it saved me like 4 or 5 grand out of that. And I was like, I think the first job I applied for, it was probably actually, one of those things, like the first job I applied for was the only job I applied for, which was at Virgin Active. I had such great things about that place, and the one in Clapham. And I was hired by a lovely gentleman called David Horn, who was the fitness manager, who was your guy next to you when you were there. and obviously then I got to meet you, which is like, you know, and it's been going strong ever since.
And then I dragged you down the rugby club, and we
Yes,
started
you did.
playing. I think we played about a year and a half, maybe 2 years together, and then you took a spin off to do bodybuilding because you injured yourself. You had a knee injury, didn't you?
Yeah, so
you had to have a break.
So with the rugby thing, like I played up high school into uni, and then I dropped off, and I hadn't played for years at that point. And you got me down, and I was kind of in my lean phase where I was. So when I joined, it was playing in the fourth team, and Slim was our captain, and I was on the wing. So that was my normal position, and I was always on the wing anyway. So I was like, yeah, cool, great. Could never catch a high ball, still can't. And but I was rapid, that was always the thing as being a stick thin kid, like I had a bit of gas and some speed. And with that, I got injured. I can't remember what happened, but I did something to my knee and basically feel my kneecap floating around there, which it probably shouldn't. And that's when I just thought, well, this is the time for me to take a bit of a step back from like high impact work. And me and this other PT at work, a guy called Ken, a really nice guy, would always had this idea of competing in bodybuilding or doing something akin to like that. So at the time, I wanted to do the more like kind of fitness, the more athletic side of it. So it's more like broad shorts and trunks. So I did like the muscle model side of things and the fitness model side, because as big as I was, obviously when you cut it all down, like I think I got down to around about 85 kilograms. I'm just shy of 6'2". I'm 6'1". I like to tell people I'm 6'2", but I'm 6'1". And then so I was in a certain category, so 185, which is like the slightly taller category. And so I was always actually in really small categories, because most people that tall don't do these kind of things. It's mainly kind of like slightly shorter guys. And start doing really well with it. So all my training revolved around more like machine work, a lot more higher rep stuff. And
yeah, mate, to be fair to you, you absolutely smashed it when you did that bodybuilding phase.
Yeah,
I remember seeing just how lean you got. I think you got down like 5% or something crazy like that.
Something ridiculous.
And you did that for a few years, didn't you? And you were placing. You had a few.
Yeah, so I did well enough in that, and I did about 8 or 9 shows in total. Got some nice trophies and medals out of it, but that time I was probably hungry to get back into it. The coach I had was awesome, and he really gave me some great fundamentals about working out and dieting and motivation as well, because I was having to train like twice a day, cardio in the morning or the evening, and then working out weights in the afternoon. But yeah, I feel like I was ready to. I was like, cool, that can go to the side and get back into rugby. Knee was great, and I was starting to do a lot more heavier squatting, stuff like that. And but as I started putting the weight back on, so I was just like, what? And some individual convinced me. We had a chat, and some individual convinced me that, hey, we never have a consistent front row. There's always somebody dropping out. Why don't you? You'd be great. You'd be awesome at front row. And I was like, would I, Dale? Would I? But turned out, from all the strength and conditioning training that I do, that it was kind of like a bit of an, I like to say a natural fit. I had no idea what I was doing when I first started it, but still don't. But it's always quite funny whenever we watch the rugby and when something goes wrong in the scrum and they go down, they start pinging someone, you'll turn to me and be like, hey, what happened there? I'll be like, oh, no, I don't think anyone ever knows.
Yeah. It's quite a life change, mate, when you go from wearing the number 11 shirt to wearing the number 1 shirt.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the funny thing with that is the reps that I do in the gym is correlated to that as well. So no more like 10 to 12 reps. It's all like 3 to 1. it's all power, and then I'll have like a 5-8 minute rest period. I love it.
As much as you argue going to prop, mate, it was a great decision for you.
Because then I've I play at a lot higher level now with the club, which is fantastic. And with that, I've got to play at a high level of rugby and become more skilled playing with like really good players. Not to say that players like yourself, Dale, you've obviously no. Well, I was going to say. I mean, like I was trying to think that it didn't come out quite how I wanted it to there, but as you climb up, in teams, you obviously get influenced by other people, and I've had some great coaches as well. So I've really enjoyed my time with Ironsides, but I think it's coming to an end soon. I've been speaking of retiring for some time now.
One more year.
Yeah, now that CJ Sanders, set the bar at retiring at the peak, I feel like maybe I can step in.
Yeah, I do. I am known for convincing people to play prop.
Oh yeah, because obviously a great story of when we were travelling to I can't remember what match it was, but it was first time Pete was playing with us, and you one of our props had dropped out, which is always the case every Saturday.
Oh mate, so there's this guy Pete McIntyre, great rugby player. He just he's just moved to London, just joined the club, and we were driving to the away game, and I had my BMW 3 Series back then. And he was in my car, and there's 3 other guys. I got a message as a team captain, and it was like, oh right, the bloody tyre head's dropped out. We haven't got a prop, and we're on the way to the game. We're like, oh no, who's going to play prop? And I was thinking of the team we got lined up. We got our subs. I was like, you were sitting in the front left, and I was like, who's going to play prop? And we were going through the list. I was like, who's big enough to play prop? And I looked in my mirror, and Pete was sitting right behind me, looking at me in the mirror. I was like, how big are you, Pete? And he was like, not big enough, mate. And I was like, no, all right. That was nearly if he accepted, mate, he would have been playing prop the rest of his life. I guarantee it.
But you filled in that spot a few times as well, mate. You've done quite handy.
I had to do, mate.
Yeah, you stepped up. This is always what a good captain does. You know what I mean, and obviously that great captain led us to a trophy as well. So hats off to that.
League.
Yeah, that was a great year, that one.
When I was at prop, mate, there was no winning the scrum. Winning the scrum wasn't a theme. There was no wheeling on my side. There was no collapsing out of a prop. It was like hold. The ball goes in and out as fast as possible. Because if I have to hold for any more than a couple of seconds, we're down.
It's having a quiet word to the 9. Like, look, mate, if you want to feed the ball, that's fine, mate. Feed it to your team. We'll
in and out. I'm only going to hold this bloke up for a little bit. Yeah. But that's what you do, mate. Put your body on the line. So, then you played rugby. You've been doing quite well. 2020 happened. You've been
we're now in locked up. So what can you do? So I think obviously said in the last podcast what I'm getting up to, but mainly running, cardio, just trying to keep a level of fitness. I'm very much looking forward to April opening back up the gyms and getting back in and actually doing some serious weight training. Because I've got some dumbbells and bits and pieces, but it just doesn't touch the edges for myself. I need some big weights. Need to do some bench.
So you'll be playing touch rugby throughout the summer, doing weights, doing some strength work again, and then back into the season in September. That's kind of
hopefully, that is the plan. So the plan is to see out one whole season, because as I said, I was thinking of just hanging up the boots last year, but and we won the league that year as well, and it was just like, well, what more do I have to do really? I've had my fun, you know what I mean? I've
but you need something to fill the gap because we've always been involved in sport. I've jumped into CrossFit and turf games and cycling when I've not been playing rugby, and I love having that outlet. Because we live in the gym, I don't see, I can imagine a lot of people see going to the gym as their outlet. I don't see going to the gym as my outlet because I live in a gym. So for me, I have to play sport, otherwise all I see is the inside of a gym all the time. So because that's my workplace. I love having sport in my life. You'll have to decide that. But play touch throughout the summer, and then that'll help you make a decision.
I mean, most of my fitness is kind of. I mean, I've gone back to uni now. I'm doing my psychology degree. I'm hopefully to use or integrate that into fitness somehow. So I haven't really thought that far ahead yet. But with that, I've started taking that a little bit more on board in terms of my fitness now. So I tend to really utilise the idea of enjoying exercise, and it does not always essentially having a purpose behind it, but more the purpose of getting me out of the house, going and having some reflection time, being at peace, and you know, all that sort of jazz. Just being, honestly, these days, mate, just having a half an hour to yourself, you know, like is fantastic. You know what I mean? And it's just being able to, you know, clear your heads and get out there. Maybe listen to a podcast. Maybe listen to this podcast. Who knows?
Maybe listen to this podcast.
Maybe listen to my podcast.
Okay, I'm just finding what I'm going to be talking about next week. You tell everyone about your podcast right now.
Yeah, I was going to segue into a nice little plug there, mate. So yeah, if you want to listen to myself talk a little bit more, but less about fitness and more about movies, I run a podcast with a really good friend of mine called Craig, who some say looks like Tad Furlong. So he does. And with that, me and him get together every week on Tuesday, release a guilty pleasure movie that we review, just kind of talk a little bit about the history of, because Craig is a very accomplished screenwriter, and I like to think I know what I'm talking about as well. It's very entertaining. We're quite popular. We've got a nice little core following, so obviously if you enjoy listening to this, then maybe you might enjoy that. So that's Adam and Craig's Guilty Pleasure Cinema, mainly on Instagram in terms of social media. And right, if you want to, wait, we've got to finish the plug. We've got to finish the plug. We're on Spotify, Apple, and Google.
I'll put it all in the link below. If people ain't listening, I'll put it in the link below.
I felt the get off the stage music happening there.
I nearly just muted you a minute then. So I hope you found this. This episode was not so much a takeaway for people; it's just a chance for them to get to know us, because we're going to be talking for the next 5 weeks about subjects all based around getting fit in your 30s. And as two 30-something-year-olds still doing sport, still kind of very much loving fitness, and now I think it's good to see where. I think it's always good for people to see our backgrounds. It's always good to know where the people you listen to, where they've come from, and how they get sport and fitness in their life. So yeah, I hope you found that interesting, how we grow, like what we do. And then where the podcast is going next week, we're going to talk about motivation to train. So that's right. Last week we talked about like the stresses of train, the battles you might face with time, stress, and just having the confidence to train. Then I've chucked in this random one to get to know us. But then next week we're going to go into, you've come over the battle of time, stress, and confidence. What actually motivates you to get to the gym? And that's going to be quite a decent little conversation. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for being on, Adam.
Oh, no worries.
We'll see everybody next week. Yeah, next week we'll be back again with motivation to train. Right, thanks guys. Have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.